Investment banks, there's 2 and a few others. Brokerage houses, there's a few and then no one else, right? They see the RIA space is going to go through massive consolidation, and they're right, and we're seeing that now. And then you also see this massive trend of money moving from smaller RIAs to multi-billion-dollar RIAs. People going, look, I want to feel safe. So all of these trends are mega trends. On top of that, you put private equity loves recurring revenue, right? I'd rather buy Netflix and Apple, where people are paying every month, and that, the money management business is a recurring revenue business, and every aspect of it is. We do taxes, that's recurring revenue. You have to file your taxes every year. We do bill pay, that's recurring revenue. You pay bills every year. So they love that recurring revenue business, and then there's an inflation hedge, right? Built in, just magically. So you have all of these incredible trends that, look, you and I were not thinking about at all when we started, right? I was just saying, hey, how do I do this in a better way to help clients? It was probably a good maybe 12, 13 years before I got a call from anybody and even knew I had anything with any enterprise value whatsoever. I just thought, hey, this is a great way to make a living. I love what I'm doing all day. I've created this thing that seems to be going over very well. But PE has really flooded this space, particularly in the last 7 or 8 years, and they've been right.
Come back to PE in a minute, but before we do that, let's talk about the solo practitioners or the small 2, 3, 4, 5-person shop. Even with the wave of consolidation we saw in the 2010s, there's still tens of thousands of small shops. I've heard some folks say they're all going away. That seems a little extreme. I've heard other people say this space is ripe for consolidation, mergers, acquisitions, etc. How do you see either the small firm or the solo practitioner over the next decade?
Well, I think there are some people in our space that love to say that everyone's going to get crushed and go away, and it's very self-serving.
And send us your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Come to us or die.
That's right. If you don't sell to us or hire me as your consultant or whatever, you're going to die. That's ridiculous. I think there's room. You're going to have to be better, though, right? Like, I think that 10 years ago, anybody could open a shop and do whatever. That world is going away, right? So I think what we're going to have is you're going to have, in my best guess on how this turns out, it's like the tax world, right? You're going to have 1 to 4 mega firms. You'll have 10 to 20 regional firms. You'll have 1,000 smaller firms that either specialize in equestrian wealth management or dental wealth management, or they cost less than others, or it's a very, very premium service, or you're just really, really personable person, and you're able to maintain a practice that way, but it will be harder. And I think that it's going to be harder and harder to compete with the firm that's lowering their fees, providing more services, has access to investments that maybe you can't get, maybe can negotiate something with a third party you can't negotiate. But there will be a home. It's just that the bar is going to rise. Just as with bigger firms, for those big firms to thrive, the bar is going to have to be higher. It's not going to just be as simple as buy a bunch of firms and the market goes up. I think that world's coming to an end too.
Really interesting. So you made the decision to work with a private equity shop to help fuel your acquisitions. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like.
Well, I mean, for us, we've never, so General Atlantic is our minority owner. They own about 17% of creative planning. They've been wonderful partners, but we've never used any money from them to do an acquisition. And the reality is, we were the fastest growing RA in the country, one of the largest RAs in the country, and that's a lot of eggs in one person's basket. So the decision was basically made, hey, we need to institutionalize this place, and we need to reward the people that have come along on this journey. And so we brought in about 500 employees, are now partners. And that's,
oh, really? Because I remember the last time you and I sat down, you were literally 100% owner.
That's right.
There was no outside investors.
That's
there
right.
were no employees. You're morphing into something a little more employee-owned.
Yes.
500, that's a big number.
500, and many of them very, very substantively. Mm-hmm. And then you've got General Atlantic in there, and then we brought in an institutional level CFO. We brought in Ernst & Young and KPMG, wanted to do our audit, wanted to do our tax. Basically just said, hey, look, we wanted the regulators to see, look, we're taking this very seriously. We want our clients to see we're taking this very seriously. We're doing acquisitions. We want somebody we're acquiring to see that as well. And it allowed for more easier internal succession in the event that something happens to me. And so that was not motivated at all by using the capital of a third party to do anything, because they've never given us $1 to do anything. They just bought into the company, and that was it.
So it sounds like when you bring in an E&Y and a KPMG, that often is a predecessor step to going public, I don't get the sense that's the top of your list to become publicly traded.
No, it's not. I think that when in our scale, when we're negotiating with third parties to bring an investment to a client or to get something for a client, sometimes the partner wants to see some information, and that information coming from one of the big four is a much bigger deal than if it's coming for like my buddy across town that does my taxes. Right. You know what I mean? So that's really, institutionalizing so many things made it easier to do a lot of things, give a lot of people a lot of comfort, and that was a very, very good decision. I have a lot of clients that I personally work with that are CEOs or CFOs of publicly traded companies, and I will never do that. I mean, if we had to go public, for the best interest of our partners and whatever, we had to go public. I mean, I would do what I had to do, but I would not be in that seat for 10 years. I wouldn't be able to do it.
You would eventually kick yourself up to chairman.
It's too big of a sacrifice.
Yeah, I could certainly see that being a challenge. So, given where you are today, what are you looking at as the next leg of growth for creative planning?
Well, I think today, we're very strong with the very wealthy and with the mass affluent. We've got an emerging wealth division. We're strong in the 401k space. We're strong with business owners. We're working towards getting stronger in the foundation space. And I think for us now, it's a question of just getting bigger locally. Where most of the places in the United States where you see a major sports team will have an office, but we're still relatively small. I mean, the reality is we're small. So we only sound big when you compare us to RIAs, but the brokerage houses, Morgan and Merrill and the investment banks,
multi-trillion dollars.
Goldman, JP Morgan, the custodians, Schwab and Phil, these are trillions and trillions. They're all 2 to 12 billion, trillion with a T, right? So we are a tiny fraction of that. We employ the same number of people as the high school close to my office, right? So in the RIA space, it's significant, but it's not significant enough for the average American to know who creative planning is. And I think that's our objective, is we want to be the gold standard nationally for the mass affluent and ultra affluent clients looking for an independent wealth manager.
Thank you, Peter, for being so generous with your time. We have been speaking with Peter Mallouk, CEO and President of Creative Planning. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You've been listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio.
From the financial capital of the world, broadcasting 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com and the Bloomberg Business app. This is WBBR New York, Bloomberg 1130. Now, a global news update.
Israeli officials say 4 hostages kidnapped by the Palestinian militant group Hamas have been freed in a special military operation. NBC's Ross Sanchez has more.
This was a raid in the center of Gaza in broad daylight.
Sanchez adds that only 3 other hostages held by Hamas have been successfly rescued.
This appears to have been the single greatest success in terms of hostage rescue that we have had, that Israel has had.
The IDF says all 4 were kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th at the Nova Music Festival and were found today at 2 locations in central Gaza. New York is passing legislation that would ban social media platforms from using addictive recommendation algorithms. The state passed the bill on Friday, and it's expected that Governor Kathy Hochul will sign it into law. The bill would prohibit social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok from suggesting content to kids based on algorithms. Howard University is cutting ties with embattled hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs after a video was released that showed him assaulting his ex-girlfriend. Jim Forbes reports.
On Friday, the university moved to get rid of a scholarship in Diddy's name and terminate a $1 million pledge from his foundation. The school also said they'll be accepting the return of Diddy's honorary degree, which he received in 2014. A statement from the school said they revoke, quote, all honors and privileges associated with the degree. Legal challenges and assault allegations are mounting against Diddy, who's currently the subject of a federal investigation and multiple civil lawsuits.
Major League Baseball is headed across the pond this weekend. The Philadelphia Phillies and New York Mets will play a pair of games in England's capital as part of this year's London series. This is the 3rd time Major League Baseball has played games at London Stadium. I'm Rob Martier. The judge overseeing Donald Trump's hush money case in New York is flagging a social media post claiming early knowledge of the verdict. On Friday, the judge notified both parties that on the day the jury began deliberating Trump's case, a Facebook user left a comment saying, quote, "My cousin is a juror and says Trump is getting convicted." Trump's attorneys in the Manhattan DA's office were both informed. The jury convicted Trump on all 34 counts of falsifying business records. The heat wave that's been baking much of the West with triple-digit temperatures looks to continue over the weekend and into next week. Temperatures are forecast to reach their highest since last summer from parts of the interior of California into Oregon and the Rockies, affecting a dozen states. Phoenix can expect temperatures hovering around 110 for the next week, while Salt Lake City will see highs in the 90s over the weekend, and Boise could approach 100. American astronaut William Anders is dead at the age of 80. Anders was a member of the Apollo 8 crew and took the famous Earthrise photo in 1968. On Friday, Anders was killed while piloting a small plane, which crashed off the coast of Washington state. A search and rescue mission is underway at the site. The new test can predict dementia nearly a decade before diagnosis. Michael Kastner reports.
The method, which looks at the brain's network of connections, is 80% accurate. Researchers at Queen Mary University in London say the test is better than commonly used methods like memory tests and brain shrinkage measurements. The study is published in the journal Nature Mental Health.
Kia is recalling over 462,000 cars in the U.S. due to fire risk. A notice from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the front power seat motor could overheat, which can cause the vehicle to catch fire. The NBA Finals will continue on Sunday in Boston. The Celtics host the Dallas Mavericks for Game 2 of the best-of-7 series. Boston took Game 1 convincingly on Thursday by a score of 107-89. Tip-off on Sunday is set for 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm Rob Artier.
And I'm Denise Pellegrini in the Bloomberg Newsroom. Israel's military, the IDF, as we've been reporting, says it has rescued 4 hostages from Gaza, 1 woman, 3 men. And Bloomberg's Ethan Bronner is tracking developments for us.
They're all relatively young. 3 of them are in their 20s and 1 in his early 40s. So they seem to be in very good shape, at least physically.
Bloomberg's Ethan Bronner, Israel Bureau Chief, reporting there. The 4 were kidnapped, according to the IDF, by Hamas from the Nova Music Festival on October 7. The hostages rescued in 2 separate locations in central Gaza. Secretary of State Antony Blinken heading back to the Middle East this coming week as the U.S. tries to broker an Israeli-Hamas ceasefire. Meantime, the U.S. military-built pier designed to receive badly needed aid shipments into Gaza has been reconnected now to the beach after repairs and is expected to begin taking aid deliveries again. U.S. Central Command's Vice Admiral Brad Cooper.
Our international partners have seen the previous positive effects that the pier has on effective delivery of humanitarian assistance.
U.S. Central Command's Vice Admiral Brad Cooper there. It's Fed Week this week coming up, and the Federal Reserve widely expected to keep interest rates unchanged. Nathan Sheets, Citi Global Chief Economist.
The Fed, at their meeting, they're going to look at where the economy is, and they're going to say we have time, and I think they're going to wait for more evidence that inflation is clearly on that 2% trajectory that they've been working toward and to which they desire.
And Sheets there on Bloomberg Television. Both live special coverage on Bloomberg Radio and Television when the Fed announces, explaining what it all means for you. Trading in shares of video game retailer GameStop halted yesterday. The stock plunged 39% as the former stockbroker who helped start the meme stock craze a few years ago appeared in his first YouTube live stream in years, talking about Keith Gill, a.k.a. Roaring Kitty, in an hour-long monologue watched by millions, wearing sunglasses, a headband, stickers on his face, and he reacted to the YouTube comment feed.
Do I have a lawyer in the room? No, but maybe I should.
You know, before plunging Friday amid Roaring Kitty's appearance and GameStop's unexpected earnings release and announcement of additional share sale, GameStop stock more than doubled in the weeks following Roaring Kitty's reemergence online last month. Global news 24 hours a day, and whenever you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini, and this is Bloomberg.
Now, a sports update on Bloomberg 1130.
Now, this Bloomberg Sports Update. Dodgers took the first of the weekend set at Yankee Stadium, 2-1. Teoscar Hernandez the Yanks. Juan Soto just dealing with inflammation, no structural damage. Mets, they'll play the Phillies in the International Series from London Saturday and Sunday. In college baseball, UConn got clobbered in the Super Regional at Tallahassee, 24-4 by Florida State. It's the best 2 of 3 to head to the World Series. With your Bloomberg Sports Update, I'm Rob Bushka.
Bloomberg Wealth is brought to you by Bank of America with digital solutions to help you spend, save, and plan smarter. What would you like the power to do? Member FDIC. Program content not provided by Bank of America.
Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the Podcast Spotlight Hour on Bloomberg Radio.
You're listening to Bloomberg Wealth with me, David Rubenstein. On today's show, I'm speaking with Devesh Makan, founding partner of global investment firm Iconic Capital.
The way we've envisioned our firm was very much we were focused on the idea of long-term relationships. We really believe that our families will judge us for two things: an experience they have and how we perform. The biggest thing we're going to see in our lifetime from today will be the picks and shovels driving AI. I love what I do. I wake up every day and it's hard for me to imagine that I've stumbled my way into something that actually pays me to do what I would do for free.
Devesh Makan is a founding partner of Iconic, a global investment firm you've probably never heard of.
We in the business of confidentiality with families, and we love our investments to speak for themselves. So we've chosen not to go on the path of publicity generally.
The firm started in San Francisco in 2011 as a family office, but has since grown into an influential investment management firm with 4 core business lines and offices around the globe.
So when we started off the firm, we were dealing with entrepreneurs who were just starting a company. They were thinking through, who are my capital partners? How do I structure my business? How do I do my voting agreements so I can control my company in a certain way? And as the journey continued, financing mattered, board members mattered, senior significant members of their staff mattered. And we wanted to be in that room with them as a consigliere.
Iconic manages around $80 billion for families today. It also has over $100 billion in assets under advisement and has advised on over $465 million